99%. You got 1% holdout. What do you do with those bonds?
Good morning, Alex and Guy. Certainly for us, it was a very important step in the process of stabilizing the economy to reach this deal with 99% of our creditors. The remaining 1%, we will continue working on it. It was most of a technical issue. There were some retail bondholders registered in Europe that did not get a chance to vote, but we don't see that as a problem. We will continue working to resolve what is left. 99%. We consider it as massive acceptance. So this is positive news for Argentina's economy.
Still in a very difficult place, though, Minister Guzman. We are going to see bonds retrading. I'm wondering at what level you expect them to be trading and what kind of signal that we can take away from that. The new bonds are going to start trading next week. What yield are you hoping for?
Well, that's a matter mostly for bondholders. We know that stabilizing the economy is a process. It cannot be done from one day to another. Argentina was already suffering a deep macroeconomic crisis when COVID-19 hits. The country has been in a crisis since 2018. And we hope our investors' expectations become more positive day by day. But again, this will take time and it will be a process. We expect at the beginning to have relatively higher yields than in a few months from today.
So, I mean, the yield question is important, though, because you need a high enough yield to attract international investors and foreign capital, but not a high enough yield where that's going to hurt you down the line. Some analysts are looking at 12%. What's the one that you can manage that kind of does both?
Well, again, at 12%, that will represent the cost of credit that for Argentina will not be sustainable. But the good part of this deal is that Argentina will not need, the government will not need to access international credit markets for a while. So 12% from the viewpoint of the government, of course, is a high yield for the prospects of accessing international credit markets. It should be much lower than that. But we are aware that that will take time. Our investors were aware also that that was going to take time, and that's why the country achieved a deal in which there will be no capital amortization payments for the first 5 years. So we need to work on consistent macroeconomic management to decrease that yield to levels that we consider acceptable, and again, that will take time.
Minister Guzman, going forward, clearly there's going to have to be a conversation with the IMF. When do formal talks start with the IMF? And what kind of deal are you looking for? Is it a standby arrangement? Are you looking for an extended fund facility? What is your objective?
Well, the first objective is a program that works, one that helps Argentina to stabilize the economy. All modalities are on the table. SBA, EFF, we haven't discussed those yet. We didn't clarify when we requested the program what the modality would be. But again, what is of the essence here is that the program is based on different premises for macroeconomic management and macroeconomic policies than the package of contractionary fiscal policy and contractionary monetary policy on which the SBA in 2018 was based. In the context of a recession, that program deepened the recession. Now we're moving forward to a different kind of program. We've been having a very constructive engagement with the IMF, and of course, this is going to be a complex process. It will take time. The program has to have legitimacy in the society. We announced already that we will send the program to the National Congress to be approved before we have the final deal.
You said earlier this week that you would not be asking the IMF for more money. I guess the question is, what are all the steps that have to go right for everything to work out? Because it's hard to rule that out completely when you're in the middle of COVID and the whole world economy is a mess.
Well, of course, there is massive uncertainty in the context of COVID, but Argentina's relationship with foreign debt in foreign currency hasn't gone well in the past. We've had a number of sovereign debt crises, and the fact that the country borrows in foreign currency has much to do with that. So we've been focusing on developing the peso debt market. We've been experiencing a very positive dynamic in the process of developing the peso debt market and the development of the domestic capital markets. And that's where the focus is now. We are not planning to ask for fresh money, extra financing in foreign currency. We consider that would not be prudent. Of course, we will need financing, but our goal is to have financing in domestic currency over the next few years.
Why should international investors invest money in Argentina? Why should companies, international companies, invest money in Argentina? You are putting some very draconian limits on people's ability to be flexible with their companies, to hire and fire, to shut businesses down, to take money out of the country. That doesn't send a great message, Minister. How are you going to convince international investors to put their money with you?
First, because there are plenty of opportunities in Argentina for investments. Now we're going through times of crisis, and some of the measures that have been implemented they do not constitute structural characteristics of the economy. These are emergency measures. For instance, the capital controls that the country has today, those were adopted in 2019 by the previous government in times of very high economic anxiety in the context of a currency run. We do not see those capital controls as a permanent measure. We want to move to a more reasonable system of capital account regulations. This is, of course, necessary for attracting investments, but we cannot do it in just one shot. We need to build resilience. We need to accumulate foreign reserves in order to be able to move to a more reasonable system of capital account regulations. And that takes time. It takes also fiscal policies in the direction of fiscal consolidation at a speed that does not undermine the prospects of economic recovery. It takes consistent macroeconomic management, fiscal and monetary policies that are consistent. It takes growth in exports above the growth in imports. So that's not something that we can do from one day to another, but we will do it. And in the meantime, as I said, there are plenty of opportunities in the agribusiness, energy, etc. So we see the economy going in the right direction. We've done very important steps. Of course, we are in times of uncertainty, and we are doing every step in order to stabilize the economy.